This is the Promising Practices for Health Equity podcast, brought to you by the Interdisciplinary Research Leaders Program, a national leadership program of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation.
Hello, and welcome to Promising Practices for Health Equity, the podcast created by the Interdisciplinary Research Leaders Program, where we explore innovative and actionable strategies to meaningfully advance health equity. I'm your host, Krystal Lee, and I am joined by my phenomenal colleagues and co-hosts, J. Robin Moon, Mandy LaBreche, and Cody Cotton. Hey, friends.
Hey, Krystal.
Hey.
All right. This episode is a little different than the others. The four of us are going to have a conversation and take stock of what we've learned from the conversations we've had with our guests and reflect on some of the transformative ideas that they have shared with us and the promising practices that can inform our collective work towards health equity. But before we jump in, I want to check in with you all, as is our habit. So tell me what it is that gives you energy these days. I'll start. I have been spending a lot of time in my garden. Summer is a kind of a lighter workload time for me usually. And so I set up my garden pretty intensely this year. I'm growing asparagus.
There are 5.
And there are 5 asparagus growing up in my thing right now.
Babies.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And also I have a furniture refinishing project that's waiting for me when I get back home and literally dream about it. So I'm like, ooh, what's the best stripper to use on this furniture? That's literally what I dream about. Yeah, so that's giving me a lot of energy. I'm going to kick it to Cody, kids. Cody.
All right, appreciate that. Very much so. I am so used to saying my kids give me energy, which is true. Anytime I see my baby boys in the morning, as well as the newborn baby girl, it gives me a lot of energy. But as of late, I am getting prepared for Chicago Marathon.
Woohoo!
First one, October 12th.
Fancy.
Week 4 training. And my days run much smoother and I feel much more energized after I get done running. So running has been giving me energy. All right. Popcorn over to Robin.
Thank you, Cody. I have instituted this morning routine. Well, I've had morning routines, and then I added something very small, I thought, is to literally write down my intention for the day. And I have this app that I have a widget on my phone. So every time I open my phone, I look at it. Boy, I didn't see that power really impacting me. I didn't see that coming. I think it's really literally changing the way my brain starts firing in the morning. Yeah. So that has been a great habit. I recommend it to you highly.
It's amazing.
What's the app?
It's Insight Timer.
Okay.
There are a number of apps I use, but this is the only app that has that function. So you basically open the app every morning. You just write a very simple intention. In the first couple of days, I'm like, oh, I will be present. I will be mindful. And then I really got into it. So I'm a lot more specific now. And it really has been powerful.
And it keeps a log of all so you can like scroll back and see what you were putting in the early days of your intentions.
Yes.
Cool.
I love that. I think I know our check-in question for next time. It has to be, what is our intentions for the week or for the day? That'd be amazing. Shout out to you, Robin. Thank you.
Dang. Okay. What gives us energy? I would say my kids, well, kind of a double-edged sword with kids. They give me a lot of energy and they also manage to drain the energy a little bit depending on the day or the hour. But specifically lately, I'm like, my daughter, it's her first time playing like club soccer. So she's always on like rec level. So she boosted it up a little bit. And so it's my first time not coaching her because they have like legit paid coaching staff. And so I get so energized. Like I'm like a psycho mom at the game. I get beyond energized, so into it, like into every little detail. She had a game last night that I had to miss, but I made her FaceTime me like immediately after. And then the parents like group chat was like sending me some updates as the game went along. And yeah, typically every season I do post a video of like
I can hear your voice.
My kids doing something and like, so sometimes it's at soccer and me just like going absolutely crazy, like I think one time I even like got so excited I like threw the phone while I was recording. One time I got all this energy. It was literally my daughter was in first grade and they do these field games at the end of the year. And it was tug of war with the other first grade class. And like I was so fired up for this. Like it's the truth. The video is the true sounds of like a psycho mom. But like
we love it.
Maybe in a good way. Like good psycho energy if that's possible.
I love that for your daughter.
So lately that's what I'm getting energy from. I don't think they'll like it as they get older, but I can't help myself.
I think they do. I think they still like it.
I don't know. Once
It'll
she
be
gets a teenager.
It'll be embarrassing, but it'll become meaningful over
Do you
time.
think?
Probably when they're older.
Oh, when they're older.
When they're
They'll
older,
look
they'll be
back
like,
at the
you know what?
Psycho Mom
My
videos.
mom was 100% behind everything I did.
Everything.
And
right.
that means something
That's
to me.
right.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah, man. A 12-year-old is not going to be able to acknowledge that, but a 23-year-old probably will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of these days. So thanks for checking in, friends. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about, share some of our general reflections on the conversations that we've had this season. What are some things that have stuck out to you that have come up in our conversations with folks about promising practices for health equity?
I'm going to start with the general reflection, not necessarily about the conversation first. For the audience, this is our first time ever trying to make a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even used to listen to podcasts until we started this. And the season 1 happened and we are wrapping season 1, which is amazing to me. And we went with like the one common goal, which is to share with our world what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't about my voice, quality of my voice or the questions, but then it just happened. So I just marvel at how we actually made it happen. Kudos to you all.
Oh, same to y'all. Y'all know I've wanted to be a podcaster for a very long
Another
time.
thing she's been dreaming
Oh my
about.
gosh, I've been dreaming about it. And it has, I've always thought that podcasting was a good way to share information. I'm like, why don't we do more of this? But it's actually a lot of work. And that's a lesson. I figured it would be work, but I didn't realize like how detail oriented you have to be to do a good job, to do justice to what it is that we're trying to communicate. And so generally from the process, I've enjoyed every bit of it. I love working with you guys. I love talking to you guys, this. And I think we have a good thing that we started here. And we've already been getting some good feedback. I'm so glad.
It's good.
What I know how to do is talk, Cody. That's what I can do. Yeah. What about you, Cody?
I love that. Well, I have to answer the question different, right? Just because when you talk about just the preparation of being able to do a podcast, there's a lot that you can learn from it just in the prep of it, right? The launch of it, getting things organized. But I think it's also telling when you do the prep interviews, whether you're going over some things with each person or even having to focus on the intentions of what we want to aim. I think it's really unique to just hear the different perspectives of even the journey of not just IRL, but just even their experience.
What about you, Mandy?
Yeah, I feel like it's been like a really full circle type of moment for me. I'm a listener of podcasts, but never had aspirations and dreams like Krystal to host a podcast. I still question myself a little bit, especially listening to the playback. But yeah, I've loved the process. And, as we're in our final year of IRL, it's been really fun just to have time and space just to reflect with people. And, there's some people I haven't seen or talked to really in many, many years. So it's been fun to be able to invite back kind of the OGs of IRL. Yeah, it's been great.
If I can add one more thing before we move on to the next topic, I think that to your point, Mandy, like you say you're still skeptical of it. Like I think that all of you sound amazing. And for me to even be in this band to do this together is a symbolism of where we are as IRL. And we all know, this is one of the premises of this podcast, which is that we start transforming ourselves individually from within before we transform our community. Some of you know this, I used to not be able to hear my own voice. I just couldn't. and it sounded hideous and I sound awful. I think you all say like to an extent, similar things, but then we did it together as a community and it came out to be a product that we are sharing with the world. So that as a deliverable, the output in and of itself to me is a symbol and success of our work in IRL.
I love that. And I have to speak to that too, because I think as we are helping our fellows within this leadership fellowship come up with their dissemination product, it's like us as leadership got a chance to really go through that process even more in the fine-tune process and disseminate a podcast. So it was really telltale.
Yeah.
I want to lean into something that you started talking about, which is the community aspect of this, right? The building, creating a space where we feel supported, where we can do things that are hard and do hard things and feel supported as we explore that. And I wonder if you are able to if anybody wants to speak to the impact of the IRL community on our work towards health equity, on our collective work towards health equity. Is there anything that came up in the conversations that we had with folks around the importance of community as a promising practice?
That's another like a meta kind of, I think, outcome of all the work. From what I've heard from all the episodes, I knew that we were not going to talk about the technical details or nitty-gritty of research, but literally nobody said, not once, methodology or research anything. Every episode ended with the word trust. They're talking about how we move at the speed of trust. It's about, building trust. Without it, we can't get this work done. So that, I think if there's like few big messages we want to send to the world of our work as a promising practice before getting into details of any like on the ground work is that, I think. Trust. Without trust, you can do nothing. And it's a trust within the community that we exist for.
Yeah.
I love how every episode, like just the themes of like being in community with one another, being connected to one another, like, throw all the research aside. At the end of the day, it really just seems like it's about being connected to others to be able to do this work. And if any part of that's fragmented, I just feel like everything is paused, delayed, doesn't move forward in the ways that you think it will. And so I love that those themes are kind of interwoven in every episode, almost no matter who we're talking to. It was about collaboration. It was about connecting with others. It was about relationships above all else. And I think, I don't know, I wasn't part of the group that developed IRL, but I can't imagine that their conversations when they were developing this thing were around relationships and how are people going to be able to collaborate with one another? How are they going to be able to maintain and strengthen these 3-person relationships to do all this incredible work in the community? I would bet that was barely talked about. And now we're almost at the end of 10 years of IRL, and that's the core foundation of what everyone is taking away from this program, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. And again, not to add much to it, you all said amazing things. I just want to put the emphasis on relationship. We learned through our work with Ashley that much work and much impact cannot be done without relationship, whether it's in community work, research, whether it's in working with the staff or even within the fellows, but relationship is at the center of all things.
Ashley Ellis from Breathe Circle. What did she say? There is no accountability without relationship.
Yep. I think from my perspective, I've been with the program 4 years, and in that time I've seen, so much change and evolution take place, especially around our building our network and our community, our beloved community, as we refer to it. And I think that there are traditional research models don't usually take that into account. Even our community-based research models don't usually take that into account. And I think a promising practice that comes from that would be like to have folks who are engaged in all research, but certainly community-based research projects, to think about how you build relationships, how you build accountability through relationships, how you build trust with people so that we can avoid kind of the, go in, get what I need, leave, extractive type approaches to research, which have been so detrimental to communities over time. And I think that's something that we've talked about. I think Kathleen, in the episode with Kathleen, she talked with Miss Bobby and Cody and Robin about her experience doing community-based research and how things have changed and the importance of focusing on building relationships, trust, and community with people in order to get the work done. And I think if we're going to say our equity is our purpose, equity is about people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have to prioritize being people-centered. And that's not just about the folks who we are doing research with, right? It's important that we do research with people, not on people or about people, but also for ourselves, right? And practice what we preach type thing.
And to use Louise's language, Louise Ortega, this importance of relationship might be a concealed story. If the stock stories include researchers come swoop in and do the helicopter research, that is true, often cases. But what we don't talk about enough is this beauty of relationship that is the main ingredient of any well-done, action-oriented, community-engaged research. I don't think I've heard this before we actually got to dig it out ourselves.
Thanks for sharing that reflection. I'll just share one of the promising practices that really stood out for me is around, two things: embodying the future that we want to see. Adrienne Marie Brown, in her book, Emergent Strategies, talks about this embodiment, like emergent strategies being about like creating the world we want to see and being the people that can make that world possible. And I think IRL did some of that at its inception by prioritizing community partnerships. But I wonder if you all have thoughts about how that has happened in IRL over time and what the evolution of that process and the work that the teams are doing together, researchers and community partners. How has the evolution of that been in line with us embodying the futures that we want to see?
I will throw out the first thought that I have, and this really has almost everything to do with the restorative justice work that we've been doing as a team to normalize conflict. That's another concealed story, maybe. We as in a greater research community, or even just community, we have a tendency of talking about all the things at the end, like at the end, as opposed to the process. And as part of the process, there are conflicts. How could we not? There are disagreements. And the learning here is to navigate all of that, acknowledging it and then navigating it, not concealing it. So embodying the future we want to see, as we have seen with our fellows and with our team ourselves, is to do that, to normalize conflict. It is bound to happen. The challenge is how we deal with it. And I think that we have been learning how to deal with it with grace and with love and acceptance. Why did I just hesitate? Because that's like such a soft word we say, but that's the most powerful. I mean, love is the answer to everything. And I think that's what we've been learning.
Yeah, that resonated. I feel like I'm saying the same thing closely with their relationship, but it's so important. I remember something Ashley taught us, that you're less likely to harm people that you know, right? And people like, well, I harm people I know all the time. But when we say no, not just know their name, where they're from, but truly like their values and principles and the morals that they stand by, or when we come together in a room and we talk about community agreements, what resonate for you? What does that community agreement mean for you? when I think about the embodiment of the futures that we want to see, we want to bring about, it truly starts with relationships and with everything that we're doing, even when you're talking about the restorative practices.
Yes.
Conflict is normal. We know we're going to have conflict, but if you build a relationship before the conflict,
That's
then
right.
you can easily restore the harm.
That's right.
The issue is when there's a conflict and then you don't have a relationship, any base or any foundation to build on. Then you have situation incidents happen when we see often have happened with teams falling out, but it's because they haven't built anything foundational. The only thing that's been foundational has just been a project they chose to come together on.
That's exactly right. Thank you. Thank you
Well
for saying
said.
that. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, well said. I think that an important practice that we could take away is the creation of community agreements, right? But with intention, because it's not enough to just write down some agreements and just to have said that, just to be able to say that we've done it.
What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Why am I doing this? How am I going to remain connected to it? Are we going to keep we'll review it every few months or every year or something? Because that kind of to your point sets the groundwork for how we manage things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
When you have people working together, there will be conflict. And of course there's a scale of conflict, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be something like super disruptive, but conflict is going to happen. And what is the foundation upon which we are navigating this conflict?
Yeah.
If we have set already our priorities as a group, and this is something that we can come back to, it makes it easier to navigate what is happening. One, to maintain the relationship, to restore harm that has been done, to be able to communicate that harm has been done, to identify what the needs are that are going unmet, that's causing the harm, right? But then also to be able to manage that the tension that comes from that conflict in a way that's generative instead of destructive. There is a way for us to do work with people where conflict is inherent and sometimes unseen. You don't know where it's going to come from, like some things that are completely unexpected. But we have this foundation upon which this relationship that we've built, this trust that we've built together, and these agreements that we have made together that we all take seriously, that is going to guide us as we navigate this conflict. So there's no reason to avoid conflict if we have established, we've set ourselves up for success in advance.
Yeah, and just when you were speaking, I just thought about it, because whether you say when you bring people together, conflict is naturally going to happen, right? It's inevitable. But when you look at community and researchers and bringing community and researchers together, there are certain community agreements that you might say a word and they see it two different ways. Community look at the word community different, as well as research look at the word research different, and vice versa. And it's like when you don't have the opportunity to really come together and say, what do you mean by community engaged research? We have two different definitions of community engaged research.
Yeah.
That could at least be more preventative for some of the harm that could be caused as well.
The work that we have been doing around restorative practices, right? There are elements that you work on consistently before there is even a conflict, right? Building relationships, getting to know each other, checking in, creating authentic kind of relationships, learning to be your authentic self with others. And that sets you up for success when there is a conflict, because I know you. Right. And I know that maybe you said something and I think it's out of pocket, but I can think twice. I can give you the benefit of the doubt because that's not really like him. And that's not what I would have expected from him. Let me, instead of going crazy right away, getting in my feelings about what you said, there has been space created for me to address the thing that landed with me in a certain way. There's a way for us to address that, a foundation upon which we can address that, because the work has been done in advance. Also, restorative practices allow us tools and a pathway for having conversations that are intended to restore relationships, to reintegrate people into groups and community, and to address harm that has been caused. So it's work on both sides of the conflict. Work that has to be we have to continuously tend to these relationships. And I think restorative practices gives us a good blueprint for some of that work.
Amazing blueprint for that work.
Preach it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you talked about that because before I really started to learn about restorative justice work, so 2 years ago, a short journey so far. Like, I was always thinking the restorative justice work came in when there was a conflict, and then very quickly
Same.
learned from Ashley Ellis
Yeah.
of Breathe Collective and others that it's about doing the work in advance to prepare you to have success when there is a conflict. So it's always about being in relationship with folks and having that be the foundation.
And I think that's a stock narrative, a stock story, right? So many people think that
Right.
RJ or restorative practices becomes priority when there's a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you just said, Ashley taught us that no, before anything, that's just a way of life. That's just the way we move, whether we're inside the circle, outside the circle. It's about building a relationship. That's what it means to be human.
Say that.
None of these were part of, say, call for applications or, research protocols. What makes a research rigorous? None of this were included. I have not learned any of this. I've gone to a few schools in my life. I have never learned these things in school, especially in the higher education. So, that's something to think about. Why don't we? Because apparently this is the most important thing. And we're all missing this training, is what I learned, I think, for me anyway, in the last years of IRL.
A second.
Third.
Fourth.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
And I was like, you've been on this journey for a long time, so maybe it's not new in voting.
No, I've had the benefit of lots of good teachers around this stuff, not necessarily in school, but just people in my life who I've learned the importance of being well with myself, but also with others and in relationship and community with others. And the work that I've done with IRL these last few years have just added to that. So I consider myself to be very lucky to be in this space with y'all, learning about this stuff. So thank you all for sharing. I'm going to ask you to dream with me for a second.
All right.
All right. So put on your dreaming caps or your little sleep masks. And if you imagine 7 generations down the road, right? What stories do you hope that they will tell about this moment in our work towards health equity? I can start. I hope that this moment is just a pivot point. I hope that it is just a bend in the road. I hope that the difficulties that we are currently navigating are actually prompts that help us to do things differently and better for people and communities and relationships. I hope that they see that we are learning and that we are trying our best to create a world where everybody can have what they need and we can take care of each other, take care of ourselves, take care of the environment, that we can live balanced lives. I hope that that's where we are going. Yeah, and I hope that they will see, conversations like this, programs like IRL, tools like restorative justice and storytelling and prioritizing self-care and all of these things that have been identified as promising practices. I hope that they are built in to 7 generations from now, that these are things that folks just do without having to think about it. It's just natural for them.
Along with that, I would add that these things, we just talked about how these things are not taught in school. I hope that this will be part of the core teachings in higher education, higher institutions. There will be leadership development programs and grant programs that focus on this first and foremost before we do any public health or epidemiology, social epidemiology research.
Speak on that. I think it would be amazing, especially when I envision generations down the line, is that we truly change the norm of dissemination. We make health equity a normal topic within family households. Conversations about not just health equity, but anything that could be newfound information that was brought by research. we've put it together in such a way that by disseminating it, it just becomes a family norm. It's more often spoke about, not just in universities, but even within communities.
The kids would know what health equity means,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
They would learn about restorative justice practices.
Yeah. Just as a way of being.
I think I'm thinking of it a little bit similar to you, Krystal. Like, I hope future generations can like look back and learn about this moment as like something that's transformative and something that like people can be, I don't know, that collectively we can package up all of our emotions about what's going on right now and like use it for good and like actually permanently change things and, you know, pave a new path towards how we get to a more equitable world. And yeah, I hope it can be a real turning point for future generations looking back at 2025.
So the last question that I want to ask, which is going to be our wrap-up question. So we've dreamed a little bit about what we want the future to look like, right? And so I want you to ask you to think about how are you going to transform yourselves so that we can transform the world. So what is it, what promising practice are you going to implement in your lives, personal lives, professional lives? What's one thing that you are going to try to do as a promising practice to promote your own work towards health equity?
Mine is very short. It's less thinking, more action.
To be the change that I want to see in this world.
Yeah, I'm going to be an example of self-care. So that's because I think that self-care is necessary to promote sustainable movements towards equity, to reference Sean Jin Wright's work in the 4 Pivots.
I think so many people talked about this in the checkout question that was around self-care. And it's something that I don't do, but a lot of people did talk about setting intentions and also meditation. And I think that's something that I could definitely benefit from. I feel like I'm typically like resistant to sitting with my thoughts. Like I'll distract myself out of just sitting with my own thoughts. And so I think that's something that could just help me find a greater balance day to day.
Yeah.
You can meditate while playing pickleball. You can, it's a moving meditation.
I meditate while
You
working on my
already-
brain.
I do have little moments where I have to rein it in and take a deep breath.
No,
But like,
you are breathing, I promise you, when you're playing pickleball.
Oh,
And
I know I am.
You're thinking about pickleball only. You're not supposed to be thinking about meditation. So you are meditating, I promise you.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's right. From the yogi herself.
Okay. Yogi Bear.
We had to get
From
pickleball into
Shenandoah.
it. I didn't bring it up though. I've
No,
never
you
brought it
didn't.
up on any episode.
All right. So thank you all for having this conversation together today. As always, we want this to be a two-way conversation. So we'd love to hear from you, our listeners. Share your thoughts with us via our LinkedIn page, where we will post our show notes and links to any resources that we discussed in this episode. And don't forget to subscribe to Promising Practices for Health Equity so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again for joining us. And remember, we're all on this journey together, and every step we take together brings us closer to a healthier, more just world. Until next time. Thank
Bye.
you.
Peace.
Bye, listeners. Promising Practices for Health Equity is produced by the Interdisciplinary Research Leaders Program, a national leadership program of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. A special thanks to our guests, our production team at Studio Americana, and to you, our listeners, for being a part of this important conversation.